Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on Our News.
Chief Justice Stephen Isaacs laid to rest in the nation's capital. That story coming up.
A young man loses his life in Fox Hill on Dorset Street.
Students of AF Adderley are the recipients of a major give back.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Chief Justice Stephen Isaacs, whose legal career spanned 36 years, left the Supreme Court for the final time today before relatives and colleagues paid tribute to him during a state funeral at Christ Church Cathedral. Isaacs was hailed as an honest and fair man who commanded the respect of everyone who knew him. Jared Higgs reports.
Chief Justice Stephen Isaacs was laid to rest today following a state funeral at Christ Church Cathedral. Senior government officials, family, friends, members of the bar, and law enforcement marched to the church where Isaacs was remembered as an illustrious jurist and lover of sports, especially tennis. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis offered a tribute to Isaacs, remembering him as an honest man.
The Honorable Stephen Isaacs was a man of integrity and a fine example to his colleagues and to the Bahamian people whom he served as a member of the judiciary for nearly a quarter of a century. He was also possessed of an extraordinary work ethic from the very beginning of his legal and judicial career.
The former Supreme Court Registrar and Senior Justice of the Supreme Court spent just 2 weeks as the country's substantive Chief Justice before he passed away. He was the first sitting Chief Justice to die in office. His career on the Supreme Court bench began in 2002 as acting Supreme Court Justice in Freeport, Grand Bahama. In 2015, he assumed the role as head of the Criminal Division of the court. Harvey Tynes, QC, also offered a tribute to Isaacs, remembering him as a man with profound reasoning abilities.
You were blessed with a superior capacity for rational thought. You possessed a deep sense of fair play. You were driven by a passion for the rule of law. You demonstrated honesty and true scholarship in your application of the law. And most importantly, you always remained true to the oath of office.
Tyne says Isaacs was easily able to earn the respect of his peers.
You were also blessed with a gracious spirit, a gift from God. And you always showed kindness and courtesy to lawyers appearing before you. You exuded a certain charm and beauty. In turn, we all came to respect you, not because you ever demanded respect. Rather, we all felt compelled to show you respect because of the patience, the courtesy, and the respect you showed to all of us.
Isaacs, who died in hospital after a long illness, was 63 years old. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Well, one man is dead following a double shooting on Dorset Street in Fox Hill this morning. As Georgia Bain tells us, the incident left residents shaken.
Dorset Street, Fox Hill was the scene of a double shooting this morning, and according to residents, all they heard were gunshots.
All I heard shots. I was in the bar. I just locked the door and tell him, lock the door.
By the time we came out of the bar,
he was on the ground.
Both shooting victims were taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital via private vehicle, where one of the men was pronounced dead. When Our News arrived on the scene, residents were still standing in front of the house where the incident took place. Many of them who witnessed the ordeal had drifted to a local bar just a few buildings away. The majority of them were men, still visibly shaken by what took place this morning. The residents who asked that their faces not be shown for safety reasons remembered the man who lost his life.
Me knowing Dobie, he's a real nigga. And I just leave to get something to drink. And I walk inside the bar. The Jeep follow and come back around, right? Thank God I moved in the right time. And he's a person that everybody miss him in the community because he's a real person. If you have $1, you can get 50 cents.
According to the residents, a black Kia Sportage Jeep was seen circling the area and drove down the street several times before opening fire on the man, identified by neighbors as Lamont Maycock, also known as Dopey. Julie, who said Dopey had just given her some money to get a drink, said that he was like a brother to her.
Lamont is a nice, lovable person. Anything you want, you get from him. I don't know what's going on this morning. It was very sad. The person that's come and all these things happen. All I know is my friend. It's just like my brother. Anything I need, he look up to me.
The second man who was shot this morning was also taken to hospital and, according to Julie, is a relative of hers.
That's my uncle. That's Pedro Enfield.
Describe your uncle for me.
My uncle, that's a working person. You see, he tape on the ground. He just was waiting to go to work and get caught up in the crossfire. And he had to pick up 2 shots.
The incident brings the murder count to 67 for the year. Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Well, a woman was arrested after police say suspected marijuana was found in food she took to the prison. According to reports, shortly after 11 Thursday morning, the woman presented 2 plates of food to the Bahamas Department of Corrections property intake section. Officers conducted a routine check of the food and discovered 1 ounce of suspected marijuana at the bottom of one of the plates. The woman is expected to be charged in the magistrate's court next week. Well, as debate over the proposed Lighthouse Point development intensifies, officials from Bahamas National Trust and Juana Luther Foundation revealed today that private donors are investing the money needed to purchase the land. This as Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar recently ruled out the possibility of commercial development at the actual site. Jasmine Brown reports.
While the fate of Lighthouse Point is still up in the air, both the tourism minister and those environmentalists agree on one thing, and that is the fact that Lighthouse Point is a vital part of Eleuthera. The tourism minister recently said while the 700-acre property is privately owned, the government will not sanction the commercial development of the actual lighthouse site or the surrounding beach. But he admitted they are considering whether the government will allow a portion of it to be developed.
So the question, that's being toyed around is, do we make it all, off limits completely to any commercial development? Do we allow a portion of it to be commercially developed? But I can tell you that whole lighthouse beach, around that lighthouse beach, there's no way the government is going to sanction any development. But nothing has happened, and you can rest assured and you can report to the Bahamian people that we're not going to allow that treasure to be developed in a commercial sense.
Lighthouse Point is a 700-acre peninsula located at the southern tip of Eleuthera. Disney has proposed to purchase the property and develop it into a cruise port. The Juana Luther Foundation has also presented a plan to the government to purchase the property and preserve it for Bahamians. The Bahamas National Trust has made it clear it's on board with the foundation's plan, saying it is a better alternative to the Disney development. Kerry revealed today they have attracted investors to their proposed project as they seek to purchase the property.
We've raised the funding, we have the money available. We're not asking for the government to buy this property. We have Bahamian donors, U.S. donors, people now wanting to contribute $20, $30 because they want to be a part of saving this place. We can save this for Bahamians for better jobs, and that's why the National Trust is involved, because we believe this is one of the last really great unspoiled sacred spaces, and we'd like to see a signature national park there.
According to information surrounding Disney's proposals, 120 permanent jobs could be created if its proposal goes through. Meanwhile, the Juana Luther Foundation proposes the creation of some 400 jobs. Sean Ingram is CEO of the foundation.
People that's visited there or know about it or just know the importance of the environment and the sensitivities that a space like that presents.
Kerry says they have had several discussions with government officials, including Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis earlier this year. He called that meeting fruitful and encouraging. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, the Prime Minister's decision to tour the Beaches Resort in Turks and Caicos as government considers an investment application from that brand has raised a few eyebrows. While acknowledging that the Beaches brand, which is a part of the Sandals Group, is well known to the country, BICA President Gowan Bo questioned why government felt the need to get involved in the transaction in the first place.
When you look at Grand Bahama, so this is a brand that would know how to operate it. It goes back to my original comment. If government knows that it needed to subsidize the acquisition, then in reality, did it need to get in between the buyer and seller as opposed to simply getting into a subsidy? And, you know, persons can, if you will, evaluate that decision based on what their plans are to do so.
Bo says he is skeptical about government's decision to purchase the Grand Lucayan Resort. While he described it as a noble effort, he says he isn't prepared to call it the right decision.
I think the commercial decisions behind it need to be very clearly articulated. And up to this point in time, there is too much ambiguity. So I would say that there's not enough to condemn them. So there may be those that use it for the purposes of saying that it was an outright stupid decision. But I don't think there's enough to say that it was the right decision either, because I really believe that to buy an establishment without an appraisal and without the due diligence documents you're requiring was not, if you will, the wisest choice to make at this point in time.
The Minnis administration announced it would purchase the resort shortly after the Wynn Group pulled out of negotiations with the hotel's owners. Bo says the high cost of renovations may mean the government will be forced to give up more than it intended to the eventual buyer.
Ultimately, to make that deal viable, we've already had one interested party that has indicated the level of subsidies that were, in his mind, required were untenable by the government. The Minister of Tourism has indicated that. So is this new investor going to have any difference in terms of the level of concessions? And as I said, if the view was keep it open at all costs, then did we need to pump money in as an investor, or did we need to forego revenues as a concession, which, if you will, doesn't help our public coffers but doesn't cost us a cash outflow like this decision has.
Still to come on Our News, amid ongoing issues, AF Adderley gets a helping hand, plus a fitness duo puts me through the ringer this Fit Friday. Stay tuned.